What's going on, family? What's going on? Good rising, good rising. Black Feniks checking in, owner of HogOn Welding, LLC. So I had a few people ask me about a 40-foot shipping container flip. It's a storage unit. So, I like to try to figure out ways to come up with my own products and ways to come up with things to actually do that it you can't just find anywhere. People ask me what do I specialize in. I like to say things you can't buy off the shelf. And a 40-foot high cube shipping container cut in half isn't something that they sell on a standard basis. Like they just don't sell them like that. They sell 40-foot highs, and then you can buy a 8-foot standard 20 cube, which normally a run depends on the condition. The cheapest you might find a 20-footer that's 8 foot tall is probably about, depends on what area. I'm gonna say probably $1,500. It'd be the cheapest, and that's gonna be with some damage. Probably a C unit. So if you can get you a decent 40-footer that's a high cube, I'm gonna tell you how much it'll cost you to actually cut it in half and flip it. And this is what you're gonna be doing. You're gonna be looking to get a 40-foot high cube shipping container. You want to get this 40-foot high cube shipping container at the best price you can possibly get it. But I'm gonna say if you spend, I'm gonna give you a quota. Say if you're spending $2,500 for the shipping container. If you're spending $2,500 for your shipping container for your 40-foot high cube, and it's a B unit, a good solid unit, you're gonna look about $2,500 in a good solid unit, and that's in this area or in doing some hustling. Because normal rates I see around 3,000 to 32 on some nice ones, and then it goes up to about 35. If you're looking for a new one, you're going to spend more. So you don't want to get new. So keep away from the new. I would say getting started, you want to get a C or a B unit. It's cool because you're gonna cut it in half and cut some cutouts in it anyway, as far as your commercial door or your steel door. So it's fine if it got a ding here. You can fix all of that. That's your unit because you want to use it as a storage unit. And most people, just when they get storage units, they want to make sure that it's sealed properly, that it won't rain in. They can put their stuff in it. Ain't nobody gonna steal nothing. That's the purpose of having a good unit. So, and then later, if they want to, they can, insulate it. But that's not what you're shooting for. You're shooting for just to get it turned into a storage unit. You can sell it raw, or you can sell it painted. It all depends on how you want to do it. Now, if you sell it painted, you're gonna get a little bit more out of it. So I would say sell it painted, because you can paint both of them. You can kill two birds in one stone. I love to say that because this is what you're gonna actually be doing with this. Get the 40-foot high cube. So, and material costs, it's going to cost you around, if you're doing two of them, because that's what you're going to do, it's going to cost you around, depends on the area you are in. I'm going to say it's going to cost you in material between $300 and $500. Depends on if you have some of this material, because you're going to need a 2x2 2x2 3/16 tubing, and 2x2 3/16. I'm sorry, 2x2 3/16, 2x6 3/16 tubing, and 2x2 3/16 tubing. That's if you want to have it a good structural sound, which that's what I would say go with. You can use 11 gauge. So you can use 11 gauge to do your caps. So that's fine. It just depends on how you're going to be picking it up, towing it, because 11 gauge is a little thinner. Just a few things you have to do to actually tweak it right. But say if you was using 11 gauge, which you can, you'll save yourself probably an extra $40 to $50 if you use 11 gauge instead of 3/16. Keep that in mind. So a material, you're looking about $300 to $500. Uh, about $2,500 as far as your container. Now, unless you can find it cheaper, they're just giving you my price, giving you the going rate. But sometimes you can find people who had a container unit and they had another ideal and it didn't work out, or they going out of business, or they moving, or they need the money. And you can find a lot of them on Craigslist, OfferUp, Facebook Market, different places like that, or your local newspaper. You might find someone that might actually have one, so you might get a better deal on that. But if you take into consideration of your doors, your roll-up doors normally going to run you about between $300, $350 to I'm gonna say $600. Depends on if you getting one that's insulated or you getting one that's not insulated. I would say get one that's not insulated as a storage unit. It's gonna be okay. So you can always change and improve as far as the insulation goes, later. But I would say just go with the non-insulation one. It's gonna be the cheapest one, about $300, about $350, $400. So with that being said, and you're looking at your commercial doors can range. I would say do this. Go to my bad family. I had some difficulties with my internet. So when you're looking at your material, you're looking at about $300 to $500. If you can get your $300 to $500, if you can get your material you use, I would say look at the drop section, because some of the stuff you can get can be dropped. So see what they have on the sides that were maybe people that came and already cut certain pieces, because you can win that way. So it all depends on what you're trying to do. But the total number to actually get you going, to actually flip to, is going to be roughly around $4,000. Around $4,000, you should be able to buy one unit, cut it in half, cap both ends, paint it, put the roll up well. Take this back. I'm not putting the price into the roll up doors, because the roll up door is going to be it'll be an extra price. So for those that might want it, because you don't have to get it off the top. So you can just cap the end. But the commercial door is going to run from Home Depot or Lowe's. It's going to run you about $400, between $350 to about $450. Give or take, is going to be your door. Your roll-up door is going to be about $350 to $600, depends on if you want to get it insulated. And I say don't get it insulated, just get the regular one. And that way you're looking at about and that is under $1,000 as far as your doors. You know what I mean? You're looking at probably around $800 on your doors, and this is if you're doing it yourself too. You know what I mean? So I'm going to say, just for how I did it, you can have the customer to buy the roll-up door too, and that's what I would do. So say if you got the unit cut and you got everything prepped, and all you got to do is roll-up door, you can say, okay, a roll-up door going this end. If you want the roll-up door, we can add this. You can do it that way, or you can just cap one end and put a steel door on both ends. You see what I'm saying? But you can be able to sell these units, depending on how you want to do it, raw or painted. They'll go from anywhere from 35 to 4,500 if you're selling it with two roll-up doors in it. And that's what I would say. I price saying 4,000 with a man door and a roll-up door, but that was wrong, is 4,500, and that's with both. And if you want one, is 4,000. That's if you want the roll-up door 4,000 and the man door 4,000, because they roughly run about the same. So, and that's what it includes being painted, and that's also includes being a high cube. And that's the deal that most people are going to be paying for, because they understand that extra headroom. You got 9.5 feet instead of an 8-foot ceiling. When you go in, you don't feel as claustrophobic. You know what I mean? It's pretty tall. And then if it's for storage, that extra footage all the way around is, a lot for what you're trying to do. So it all depends on what you're trying to do. But I most definitely would say that to get it flipped and to make you a profit, you're going to need about 4,000. About 4,000. 4,500 to be good on the safe side. But you can be able to double your money with this project, because that's the whole thing. You don't want to just make a little bit of profit. You literally can double your money. So if you spending $4,000, you can make $8,000 out of the deal. So you can make $8,000. And this is one thing that I also want to say, when you're doing this, if this is your first time doing it and you're familiar with fabricating and welding, I would say don't cut it in half with a cutting torch. If you have a plasma torch, now that's fine. But I think as far as let's clean up, just use a cutting wheel. Use a bigger cutting wheel, a bigger grinding wheel. You could use a smaller grinder, but I think it'll be faster if you use a bigger grinder and put a cutting wheel on there, a 7-inch blade, and it'll probably take you. It took me 1, 2, 3, 4 to cut it. Sometimes you're gonna take between 4 to 6 cutting blades, and you're still gonna have a little extra, left over, because some pieces you need a longer blade just to make sure you cut through. So you're gonna take 4 to 6 cutting blades. So I would use a cutting blade and a grinder. I wouldn't use a torch at all. You can get away with using a 140 machine. If it can weld up to 5/16, you can get away with doing your passes with that. So you can most definitely use that machine. Um, but if you're going to be some heavy, thicker stuff, you're gonna have to use at least a 180 machine, at least a 220 volt, or stick welded. And you can stick weld it if you're a stick welder, but it is fast and more economical if you can use the flux core. It's just faster. I used one spool of wire and did both caps. I fabricated both caps, fabricated both door ends, and welded the caps on and welded the lifting eyes on the front. And I did it all with one spool of wire. But I got the big wire though, the big Lincoln wire or whatever wire you want to use. Just get a big roll of flux core wire, and I really think you'll be all right. But like I say, between rough numbers, total cost honestly depends on if you're going with a 2 doors or not. If you're going with a standard door, 4,000. If you're going with a roll up door and man door, I say 4,500. But you can literally flip that $4,500 that you have to spend. That 45 can turn into 9 or 10. So it all depends on how you're selling it, because in certain areas, depends on how they want their paint job. You know what I mean? You can get more for certain things. So, but on a base scale, you can sell them with the door at the front and the back for 4,500 all day, with the roll up door at the front and the roll up door at the back. So it's about $4,500. So if you're gonna do it just with one, with just this man door, 4,000. If you want to do it just putting the door on it and just sell it raw, without being painted and finishing, some people would buy them like that, just raw, because they say, oh, we just restore, just put it back here, just need the door to get in and out. $3,500. $3,500, and you spending $2,500 for your container. You cutting it in half, you making turning that 25, you flipping it, you see what I'm saying? And then now you can get 35. That's 7 grand out of probably something you probably got 3 grand tied into if you're doing it raw, like the raw version in just one door. So just want to run over those numbers again with you real quick. 40-foot high cube shipping container cut in half. If you're going to sell it raw, you can sell it for $3,500 without paint with one door. If you're going to have a roll-up door on it and paint with 2 doors, you want to sell it for $4,500. And like I say, you got this 40-foot high cube for $2,500. So it all depends on how you want to do it. But to me, I think that this is going to be the fastest personal flip, in my personal opinion, that can actually help you make money faster, because I wouldn't try to get a whole lot of them. I just do one at a time until, unless you got the yard and you say, oh, you know what, I don't want to do 2 at a time. And that's fine, because if you got a little extra bread and you can afford to make 2 of them at a time, where you have 4 units, that's even better, because now you got 4 at a time. And a friend of mine from Atlanta, man, shout out to Rodney. Rodney said 4 is always better. So we always go by the number 4. So 4 units, 4 doors is always better. There's more money you can make. So if you can get a deal on 2 shipping containers, 2 40-foot high cube shipping containers, that's your win. Especially if you have a place where you can take both of them, you can prep them, do them. That's gonna be your win. Get 240 high cubes, cut them in half, roll up door, man door, paint them regular. You will win on them. Those will go faster. And then also, if you want to use one, also let me tell you this: if you're in an area where you got a little extra space and you got to do a yard, turn one into a rental unit where you can rent it out and they can use it for certain things and clean up or certain events. So you can have one where you can just basically have it insulated good with an AC on it, where they can have some parties or events in there, and you can have a door on there, or 2 doors are open in where people can come through and serve drinks and tables. So that's another good idea, which I'm going to do that too. I'm just sharing y'all one of my ideas that I'm actually about to use myself. So just keep your options open, because people will buy or rent event containers. Think about that. Event containers. You having a container a person can use at their event that you can get drop shipped, which is a 20-footer. You get someone to take it over there, ship it to them, or you can actually deliver it, or you got a 10-footer. Think about this. You getting the 45s, and you making a couple 10s and having a 25 unit. You see what I'm saying? So you can get more off the space of the unit. So if you get a 45, make 2 10s and have a 25, wow. Now you can get 5,000 for this 25 unit, that you painted with the roll-up door, and now you got 210 units that you can actually rent out as event containers if you want to, or smaller storage units. So there's so much I just want to give you some encouragement, just let you know that it's possible. I'm doing it. You've been watching me flip these containers. You're watching me do my thing. But I just feel like for a fabricator, a welder, an installer, if you already have the skills, the ability, you can flip a container, or you can start getting into the container modifications. Um, it's not real complicated, but if you are familiar with prints and you're familiar with thinking outside the box and just looking at drawings, because it's going to take some engineering as far as your caps. You're gonna have to know how to do that, but it's not real hard. But if you're familiar with it, I'm only giving this a DIY for those who are familiar with welding and fabricating and installation, because it really will be nothing to you. It's easier said than done, honestly. But just to give you some rough numbers, um, flipping about four grand, 4,500 to completely do 2 units that you can sell for that same price, I think is an excellent flip. Most people don't do things to double their money, but this is actually something that you could, and you're not beating anyone. You're actually giving them value, and you're giving them something that unique that you literally cannot buy those off the shelf. So without getting them new, they call those new high cube 20-footers one ways. And when you get a chance, Google some one ways or call around some local places. Normally they're gonna range for about $3,500 to $3,800 for a one way. So 20-footer. So it all depends on what you want and what you want to do. So just think of it like that. And like I said, I just wanted to give you some ideas because someone asked me about it, and I feel like it maybe can help someone. Like literally, like if you money tight and you need to get some flip on, you know what I mean? You use that container, man. There's so many things you can do. Imagine your container, HogOn.